Sometimes all it takes is one person who believes in you. Today, we're talking about how support and leadership change everything. Welcome to the Doing What You Know podcast. I'm Ray Thigpen. This show is about closing the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it. Through real conversations, lived experience, and practical insight, we focus on mindset, growth, and becoming who you were created to be. Let's get into it. Welcome to episode 10 of the Doing What You Know podcast. I'm your host, Ray Thigpen. Today's guest is coming to us from north of the border. That's in Canada. Laila brings over 15 years of experience as a human resources leader, and she's a certified executive coach. She's helped professionals and organizations lead with confidence, focuses on real growth that creates lasting impact. Laila, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your background, Laila. Where did you come from? What brought you into the space? And what direction are you headed?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds great. So, well, as you well said, Laila's been an HR leader for 15 years. So I've been part of the HR world and leadership development, and recently became an executive coach. And I also majored in entrepreneurship as well. So I got a business degree in entrepreneurship. So I've been also having that side of things. And that's where also led me to school community. I felt like I was lacking a sense of community, lost that village. And I feel that finding school the past few months, I've been through a very difficult year, and that's part of my yes year to try new things, to find community, like-minded people, because it's really hard to find people like yourself. Like we're not, we all have that space where it's like we're people like me. We're all unique and different, right? And that's where I'm at. So that's the decision that I made to kind of join school and meet people like yourself as well, which we're exchanging so many great interesting posts, collaboration, support, and just like really great insight. And we learn so much from each other. And that's what I love about that school community.
Yeah, the community is pretty unique as far as a social network, if you will. Some people try to compare it to Facebook, and Facebook is good for for a broad audience when you got 2 or 3 billion people, but with that broad audience comes a lot of noise that makes absolutely no sense and you can't relate to it all. So the great thing about school is the fact that we all have our own niches, and people tend to migrate to the communities that fit them the best. So you don't have all that noise, and we do have the opportunities to collaborate, as you just said. So with your experience in HR and your coaching, how is that going to apply to your school community, for example, or does it?
So I started a empowered women in business because I felt like there was a bit of a lack of a space for like a safe space for women, and I wanted to niche down in a community that would make sense for me because I do feel that you know th- I needed a safe space for myself because I'm a woman in the business world and it's never easy, and I just didn't want to have to bring that outside noise into that community that I've decided to create for myself and give that space to others, and hopefully attract more women around the world so we can collaborate, support each other, share tips, advice, recommendations, support you when you're going well, when things are not going well, and really having that environment where it just resonates with you because there are people just like you in the same place or concerning being in business or aspiring to be. How can we help them? So that's where finding those community, is going to be smaller than Facebook, but there's so much more value to it because you're like-minded, you're sharing the same things that you have an interest, and that's way more fun and interesting than just being in a big group of everything, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's part of the school community, and the one that I'm building is actually really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, there's such a big jump. People just think that they can go into business and, I'll just go get started. But there's such a big jump from the corporate world into entrepreneurship and it's a huge mindset shift that is not just women. Men go through it too. I know I went through it for 3 or 4 decades before I found mentorship that guided me in the right direction. So I'm glad that gives us an opportunity to help people in that aspect. And I'm sure with your background, that's probably an area that you're focusing on in your community.
Absolutely. And I have to say, when I majored in entrepreneurship, and I graduated, was it in 2021? It was right in the pandemic. So all the business that I built, I could not use it. I couldn't. Everything was shut down. I could not. So I had to pause it, and it took me forever to get back to it because you're like, okay, well, I actually have to get a job now because everything is shut down. You can only do things remotely, and I sell handmade products, palm products. So it's kind of like I can go to the markets that I was set up by my school. The investors, they were like a lot of projects went down the hill because we couldn't have them in person, and some things they didn't want to do remote. So I'm like, wow, I went to school to like be an entrepreneur, and this happened. So I agree with you when people think that you can just like overnight have a success and be a multimillionaire. I'll tell you this. I started the business with $300. Okay, so it's very low budget.
Hmm.
And over the years and during school, I've worked through how do I learn skills that I don't have? How do I reduce my costs? Because when you start your business, if you start hiring a manager, somebody who does your website, doing your content, make the products or your service, and like you're already thousands of dollars and you haven't started anything, right?
Right. And you're talking bricks and mortar type business, right?
Yeah, so starting online, like I'm e-commerce,
Hmm.
you gotta hit a certain amount of money to say, you know what, it's worth it to go a brick and mortar, like you said, because these fixed costs are monthly. They don't disappear. And a lot of retail, it does cost like thousands of dollars plus selling the products, plus you have employees, plus, right? So you gotta start lean. And that's what we used in business school. And that's what I'm teaching to people is the lean business model. So you don't feel overwhelmed that, oh, I'm not rich enough, I'm not wealthy, so I can't start a business. No, you can. You still have your 9 to 5, right? And then build sustainably and slowly, and then you perfect and iterate as much as you can. And then when it's really good, then you kick off and you just take it as like you got to take one day at a time, right? Like it
Right.
took me 15 years to build my career. Well, how would I expect for the business to
Yeah,
just take off overnight, right? Like it's not,
exactly.
right?
Yep.
So yeah.
I like the way Jim Rohn approaches that. Of course, he was more leaning towards network marketing as your 6 to 12 or after your 9 to 5 job. But he always said, work full time on your job while you're working part time on your profits. And then he said that profits, how do you say it? Profits are more valuable than wages, right? Because wages is a fixed trading time for money, right? And then your profits can be whatever. You can skyrocket, but that's your after your job, after the 9 to 5, things that you can build on your own time, and that takes a totally different mindset because you can't just hit a road bump and when you're working for yourself and say, okay, I quit. You know, you can't just go look for another job when you are the job. So,
That's true. Yeah, totally.
yeah. So how does, for example, your background in human resources, how does that help you in entrepreneurship, or
Okay.
does
So
it?
well, it's about communication. You got to learn how to speak to people. You got to know how to build those relationships and partnerships because people don't realize like your stakeholders are way more important in your business in so many ways. And when we talk about stakeholders, we're talking about your customers, your suppliers, your service providers. Having good relationships with them, it's utmost important because they are part of your business because some of them, if they don't supply you with your products or service, you can't operate.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
you,
oh, sorry.
that's okay. Go ahead.
So it's part of like, that's where HR comes in is like learning to build those trusting relationships, right? And because business and profit, it's important, but I can tell you that when you build trusting relationships, that will take you a much more longer way than just focusing on the profit.
Right, right. You can't have profit without customers, obviously. And so it's yeah. It's a focus where you're focusing your energy. I get that. Um, and the people skills is also something that's a developed skill. A lot of us aren't born with people skills. Listening is a huge skill that most people, especially in this day, this me day, it's all about me. People don't listen to other people, and so that's a quality or a trait that we're trying to teach people these days. Not only their mindset in the fact that they're probably worth more than they think they are. The people that are struggling, the successful entrepreneurs, they've already got this stuff down. Some of them might even have it down and don't know where it came from, right? Some people have to be taught to reprogram their old ways and to accept the fact that they are worth more than they think they are, or they're better than they think they are. And that's where we help with the mindset part. So your coaching, does that have anything to do with mindset, or is that something different?
Yes, I know it depends where you're at in your journey. So, as an executive coach, it's really you're not telling people how to find their answers, you push them
Mm,
with thought-provoking questions for them to find their solutions. I would say that people that decide to be coach, they're ready for a change. They just don't know what change is going to come out. But there's like, I'm ready to change. I need support. I need to think differently. Things are not going my way. I'm not feel like I'm not reaching out my full potential. What am I missing? What can I do differently and better? And that's where, when they're open, it's way much easier to help them get from that fixed mindset
mm,
going towards growth mindset. And I would also add that also your environment. Okay, we all have those popular beliefs. We grew up with some, you have a steady paycheck, and you have a pension, and like it's just like okay, but because of sense of fear and security, because that's what they were taught. So they taught us the same thing because the system is designed that way. So you go to school, you get some skills, you get a degree, you get a trade or whatever diploma, go get a job. Nobody's telling you, but how about you use your skills and build a business? Because we need entrepreneurs to build businesses so we can create jobs. But no, you're trained to go work for somebody else. So the environment is one thing, and that's where finding community that people's like, you know what, you have skills. I believe you can do this. Who tell you can't do this? And that's part of those communities, and the environment has such an impact on your growth and development of yourself.
absolutely. Yeah, because that's what we're taught. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, spend 40 years of your life working 40 hours a week to retire on 40% of what you couldn't live on when you were working full time. And nobody talks about multiple streams of income. You might hear, if you're lucky, you might hear a little bit about investing and saving, but finances as a rule aren't even taught in public schools. I mean, maybe, once you get into college and take economics or something, but as far as a standard curriculum like math and reading and science, finances aren't taught, and I think they should be, because without finances, we're all going to be stuck, and we always going to be working for somebody else or looking for a government handout or something, because entrepreneurship's not taught either. So that's
It's an unfortunate reality. So that's where I believe as well is I was fortunate that when I did my business degree, it was somewhat like an incubator kind of hands-on projects, which is let's be honest, like sitting on like university lectures, like uni or college, like after a while, you're just like, am I learning something? I'm just learning to write papers and research. There's a method to it. It does bring you somewhere. But in this case, I would say incubators, hands-on project. This is your budget. Build something and see what happens, right? And it's a safe space. You can fail. You can iterate multiple times. You can focus group. You can market research. You can do your business plan. You have professors supporting you. Have your own classmate is looking at your projects like, this makes sense. This is what I would improve. This is what I would change, because you're testing it in a safe space environment. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's like, okay. And then at the end, it's like, okay, you're at the end of your final project. We're all going to send you to a market. You're going to sell your product or service. And then you learn what worked and it didn't work.
right. And you're building community.
Yes.
How
So
important is community?
it's everything. Without, like, we've lost that sense of village and community just because of how system is going or has been. And it's without other people, you cannot succeed. There's no such thing as you can succeed by yourself. You're self-made. Is like, if somebody doesn't give you an opportunity to work somewhere, you don't get a job. If somebody buying your service or product, you don't grow your business. If you're helping somebody else and they feel like, hey, this person will help me out, I'll help you out later if you need something. Meaning like-minded self. If, let's say, you get too many clients, you're like, you know what, I have this project, I want to bring you, I need help. Well, you have a community that you can reach out and say, this is a really great client. They've been coming multiple times. I really want to continue to support them. I'm overwhelmed right now, but let's get somebody to help you out. But you're still offering the service. You bring somebody from your community that you trust, and that collaborative environment is the most important, especially for entrepreneurs, because it's a lonely journey. Like you're by yourself, right? Most of the
Mm,
time.
yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. You go into business for yourself, but as a lot of network marketing companies say, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. So that emphasizes the importance of community. But you don't have to be in network marketing to be involved in a community of like-minded entrepreneurs. And that's kind of where we are in school. Some of us are network marketers. Some of us have our own brick and mortar businesses. Some of us sell online products. Some sell online digital services. So there's a whole plethora of things that we can do in the school community. And it's with other people that like to do the same thing. So we can bounce ideas off back and forth on each other. I know we often collaborate between some of the school communities that we all have our own different communities, and our niches might be slightly different, but yet they're close enough that we all have something in common. So that's the whole power of collaboration.
Absolutely. And it makes a big difference, right? Like it's just also when you're an entrepreneur like I said, it's a solo journey. So to meet other community members, leaders, entrepreneurs, you can actually like, even if you're having like, what, things are not working out. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Well, you can, like you say, bounce back ideas like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I've experienced the same thing not long ago, and this is what I did, and it really worked out for me. Maybe something you want to try. Like we don't force people, but we're able to share or challenges or small wins, and also we help others like how can we help you improve or do better for your business or things like that. So there's a lot of like exchange of like really honest, authentic conversation, and we say the way it is because it's like these are realities that we're experiencing. If we're honest, then we're able to make feel other people that it's like it's okay to feel that way because it happens, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm sure everybody struggles. And sometimes we'll have those discussions and somebody will say something that just never dawned on you. So it might be something real simple way to promote a service or a product that just that way of doing it never crossed your mind. And this other person is having tons of success with it. And all you have to do is tweak a little bit. And that's where helping each other just plays such an important role in our communities. Um, so speaking of online and offline businesses, uh, talk a little bit about your offline business, if you will, or your products. What was
Sure.
the name of that?
It's Splish Splash handmade products.
Say that again.
Splish Splash handmade products.
Splish Splash handmade products. Yes. Tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, so initially I started really small, right? And and it's just slowly growing. I'm trying to be very mindful of certain things, and I'll be releasing an article where certain things that, when you build your business, I'm going at a very slow pace. People are like, that's just pure insanity. But I want to be I want to stick to my values and how I want to build a business because I want to be able to align myself not with a business or partnering with a business that doesn't align with mine, because then you become part of their business model in a way. People look at you that way. It's like, oh, why are you like that? And you're not like that. So I'm actually writing an article that should be released in a couple of days about saying no to Walmart. And I could tell you that it keeps coming back to say how insane I am, but I've decided to say no because I just don't align with their values, and that's not where my business is going. So I'm like handmade quality ingredients, small batches, fresh batches. I pick my own ingredients. I bid my oils and essential oil, and I don't want to cut the product just to make more profit
Mhm.
and disrupt my whole supply chain and the brand and the story behind. And I'm in marketplaces, they're smaller. I do B2B, so I do sell to retail, but they're also mostly independent or they're smaller stores. So they're not like those big chains that crushes everybody,
Right.
right? And I support small businesses as well. I buy my supply for small businesses. I buy my stickers from all small businesses, like whatever. I really want to support my small business community wherever they are in Canada, and I would support US as well if the shipping is feasible. But these days
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can. So because I do believe in small businesses, and I just want to be part of that ecosystem that we're going to enable and grow others, right? And that they have a space, and small business really makes the community interesting. If you go to your local cafe, local restaurant, local flower shop, your local market, they also provide to the community. We give back. They give, donations for food, for like fundraising. I do donate for fundraising activities a couple time a year. So I get free products like spa products, couple boxes, and then they fundraise, and I'm just happy to be able to do that. If I sign up with a big corporation, they might hamper that because it's like, but that we don't do that, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's something that's important. That's where I also learned in school that that your corporate social responsibility has an impact, because you got to think 3, 5, 6, 10 years from now, how's that going to look like, right?
Mm. I love the whole local community. There's that word again, selling to the local community and providing the services locally. Then you have an opportunity to also build up that reputation as the person who's providing these products. And so people get to know you and know your products, and they're like, oh, this is Layla's, and that sort of stuff. Whereas if you're marketing to the big box stores, then you're just another label, and it doesn't really mean anything. And you have to mass produce, and I imagine that would just be a nightmare.
Probably, like, I mean, logistic wise and warehouse wise, and then you probably lose a bit of yourself, right? And it's like having investors. People's like, why don't you get an investor? It's like, sure, but then then I become the employee of somebody else. It's not
Exactly.
this, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's yeah, the supply chain and all that. I mean, when you get that big, to me, as a solo entrepreneur, then it feels like you're losing part of yourself. If when it becomes, I mean, I don't know. I've never been a big corporate owner like that. I don't think that's for me, um, because it doesn't have that personal feeling behind it, like a local bakeries is a great example of something like that, where everybody goes in and has their coffee or their donuts or whatever. The lady's working behind the counter and who owns the business, that just has such more family feel behind it, and yet you're still able to make a living doing it. And that's what entices me as an entrepreneur, being able to work more closely with people.
I like what you just said, is like, your local bakery, the person is behind the counter, it feels like family. You're just like, when you're going around your community, you feel like you're comfortable, you feel safe, you feel good. It's like, I know these people, I see them every other day. They know you. Like, I've sometimes, like, by mistake, I forget a bag somewhere because I did groceries. Well, guess what? They'll call. He's like, hey, Layla, you forgot your bag. It's like, like these things it's just like, wow, this is really nice. And but a big brick store, like if we all have those, it just really lose a sense of humanity.
Yeah, yeah. In a lot of ways, they do. You leave a bag at Walmart, unless the customer behind you sees it and says, "Hey, here's your bag," it's typically going to probably get put back on the shelf or something. But I don't know, right?
Most likely.
Most likely.
Most likely.
And that's just the sad truth of it. So we've got about 5 or 6 minutes left. We've already been that far into the podcast today. Let's expand the school a little bit. So your community is, and do this for our listening audience, because not everybody is going to be able to see the show notes. Tell us how to get in contact with you, or how to join your school community, the name of the community, and a little bit more about the community.
Okay, so Empowered Women in Business. It's in school. I don't know the link per se, but
They
that's
can
the
do a
name,
search,
right?
right? Yep.
And then right now we're really I've created a few lots of courses. So I have like about 8, 9 courses that are free for people to kind of like learn about, some people that have built their business or aspiring to. There's a lot of things that, if you didn't go to business school, you might not know all of this. And, searching Google and ChatGPT is great, but if you don't know what you're looking for, it's not going to give you what you don't know.
Mm.
So the things that I really created was important, is like short courses that make sense, that can just like really get you thinking, like your brand story, very important. Everything is about storytelling. People want to buy a service or product from somebody they feel they can resonate with, they can
Hmm.
connect with, that you're doing something different, and that they want to, when they buy your service or product, they're buying you. So it's important. That's like really important. The ability to learn how to network with communities and leaders and entrepreneurship, as well as finding the right website. There's like e-commerce, there's different types of e-commerce website, there's different type of social media that might work well in others. So these are the things that I put in there. And one that is important is your elevator pitch. When you introduce somebody and you have very short span, right? It's very short. You have 30 seconds to make it or break it in a way. It's like, hey, this is me, this is what I do, and there. Because the idea is like you're in an elevator, you meet you're like somebody you admire and you want to talk about your business, but you have like 30 seconds because a couple of floors it goes fast.
Right.
You got to pitch them your business, like what do you do, who you are. So it practices you to when you go networking, you're a bit more prepared and you're able to show up and just showcase of who you are. And the more you practice, the better it is.
Mm.
So these are all the things that I've added just to really, there's other courses, but there's like a lot of little snippets of things that can really help you, just even if you're just building wherever you are in your business journey. And as well exchanging, like I post every day about specific things about, social media, your budget, learning to say no for businesses, right? You can't say yes to everything, right? Because that can go in a different direction. Sometimes the biggest contract or the biggest opportunity, just if it doesn't align with you, you don't feel right, you're better saying no than embarking in a journey that you just don't know how it's going to go. And like you say, you might lose yourself, you might lose all these opportunities. So this community is all about that, as well as exchanging tips. Some people's like, I've made this order, I didn't pack things well, the box broke and everything fell out. And now I have to redo all my products.
Right.
So, it's like, and this person's been working on it for like a week and it's handmade. So now the product is damaged, you have to redo it. So sharing that is like, hey, make sure you package well, make sure you get the right tape and the right boxes. It's minor, but it can make a big difference.
Sure.
And as well as you got to be the leader you wish you had, because you got to lead yourself and able to also lead others. But that leadership development for yourself, those critical thinking skills, and you want to lead with empathy when you build a business as well. Empathy is probably one of the underrated traits of leadership and entrepreneur. You need that. People need leaders that lead with empathy, kindness, and compassion, especially in the world that we're in right now. It goes a long way. You're not dealing with robots. These are humans,
Yeah.
right? And life happens to all of us, no matter who you are, rich or poor.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that you also provide some kind of accountability in there with your schoolmates, your classmates, the people that are taking lessons from you.
Yeah, a little bit, and as well as like the coaching part. Like I'm very like my questions are open ended, so I want to make sure that they are able to spark a conversation, share things in a way. Like I don't want to tell people how to do things. Like
Right.
we don't do that. We don't want to dictate, because
Right.
then that's not proper leadership either. But if people ask questions, then we're able to answer. It's like, oh, but this is how I did it. And then this person's like, that's how I did it. It worked really well. This one, it didn't really work. And I did the same thing, because we're all operate differently and we all have different perspective. So you might look at something, it might resonate with you. The other person will see it differently. It might just not connect. And, sometimes the same solution may not work because your products or service are different, right? There's
Hmm.
no right or wrong answer. It's like you just try and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to do what you know, right? Yeah. So yeah, and that's why I lean towards accountability sometimes. I know in coaching with my clients, a lot of times we'll have those light bulb moments, and they'll have a task to perform, and it's hard to hold ourselves accountable sometimes. So it's some do some little task, like maybe it's just asking them to post something on Facebook and then following up and say, hey, did you do that? Or have them ideally they just come back to you and say, I did this. So just that accountability, even if you don't check up on them, just the fact that there's some accountability there, that usually helps people get into action. So that's why I
Yeah, I
brought
like
that up.
that. That's a nice way of putting it. I'm always very cautious, and that's mostly also my HR brain, right? I'm
Hmm.
always like, oh, you got to be careful. Then the coaching me as well is a slightly opposite. And then you have the entrepreneur, Layla. So I have multiple hats, and that's entrepreneurship, right? You're all
Yep.
departments. You're sales, marketing, procurement, purchasing, social media manager, makers, website development. You do it all, and you just sometimes you're right. You gotta try to find a way to help people be accountable, and everybody has their own way and their own pace, right? Some people appreciate it, and some people might take it really well, and that's okay. That's just how people are, and when they're ready, they know where to come to ask questions, right?
Exactly. That's what we're there for.
Yeah, there we go.
We're here to help. Awesome. Well, Laila, it's been a pleasure. I'm so thankful that you were able to come on the show today, share your background, your experience, your school community. Plug the name one more time.
Empowered Women in Business.
Empowered Women in Business. Awesome. That will be in the show notes for YouTube and Spotify. Of course, iTunes, iHeart, and Amazon Music is Audible. So that's why I like to put it out there for them to listen to. So they can just go to school, search for Empowered Women in Business, and we'll find Laila's community there. And feel free to join her, and you'll be more than happy to help people on their journey.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Laila. Have a great day. We'll talk soon. All right. Growth happens when knowledge turns into action. If you're ready to keep that work going, join us inside the Doing What You Know community at doingwhatyouknow.com/team. Thanks for spending this time with me. Until next time, keep doing what you know.